Last week, we tried out the Jupe cologne for men because Tracy Morgan had mentioned it in his live episode at the Beacon Theater.
Yes.
We had our thoughts, and it ended with you going home smelling like a bucket of Jupe to see what kind of reaction you were going to get.
Yes. We wanted to test to see what my wife's reaction would be without me saying anything. So this happened last week. Drove home from the podcast studio to make sure, because I had some Jupe on me that we applied during the podcast, to make sure I got out of my car in the garage and I sprayed underneath the right part of my throat and the left part of my throat and then rubbed it in because I wanted it to be powerful.
Juper duper.
Exactly. So I walk in, I go into the kitchen. My wife's there, and the first thing I wanted to do was give her a big hug so that she would really smell it. So at first, I think she was concerned because I was coming in for this big hug. And, we haven't hugged since, I think, 2006. That was, yes, according to the lawyers, it's 2006. So I go in for this hug, and I think she's a little bit like, okay, all right, I'm getting a big hug from Conan. This is nice. And then I intentionally made sure that, because I'm taller than her, she's quite tall, but I'm taller than her, so that her nose is right up against, and she went, oh. And she stepped back and she went, you're wearing a cologne. And she's being very diplomatic because what if, I think her initial thought was, my husband is now a guy that wears cologne, and this is what he's chosen.
Conan.
Yeah, and
how do I get out of this?
This is who you are now. You're a cologne guy.
I'm cologne Conan, and so she said, "Oh," and she didn't have like, "Oh my God, what the," she just said, "Oh, a cologne." I said, "Yes. Do you like it?" And she was like, yeah, and she's being very diplomatic.
Oh, how nice.
And she's being sweet because this is, Liza's very nice and she's very sweet. And then I started to explain the backstory and she said, okay, because it's really strong. And I said, yeah. So then I start walking around and talking, and then my son comes home and he's like, whoa, what's happening in here? And I realized, okay, I'm going to try and tone this down a little bit. So I got some soap and water and was like washing my throat and my underneath my jaw and walking around. Nope. That Jupe was there to stay.
Wow.
It was the equivalent. It was the equivalent of getting a tattoo. And so then what I didn't realize is that night, sometimes when I fall asleep, I roll over onto my stomach. So I ground Jupe into my pillow and my mattress. And then 3 days later, I'm still smelling Jupe on our sheets. And I think they've been washed. So Jupe is not something that it's not a decision you can take lightly. My Jupe was with me for maybe six to 7 days.
Did it feel like you were in bed with Tracy Morgan?
It did.
Yeah. And
yes.
you enjoyed that.
I had a very erotic adventure with my pillow. Let's just put it that way. Yeah.
Wait, what?
Yeah.
Speaking of Tracy Morgan.
And then later on, you see me at a restaurant opening a bottle of wine and it's me with my pillow. The pillow's sitting opposite me. And I'm going like,
you leave Liza for your pillow.
Yeah. Liza has me followed by a private detective. And he goes, I got bad news for you. He's seeing some slut on the side. And then she sees pictures of me with my pillow. She's like, oh, that's the foam memory pillow. Yeah, that's who he's stooping. I take it to dinner. A guy comes by with a violin and he's playing while I'm ordering the best champagne.
Move it into an apartment in the city.
Romantic.
Yeah, that's right. I got you all set up in your own special place.
With an allowance. Now, when I brought that Jupe in last week, I left only to find that Tracy Morgan, that day, a package arrived from him.
Yes, this was great. I went home with the Jupe, which sounds, it does sound like
the clap.
I came home with the clap. I went to this house of ill repute and I came home with the jupe.
That guy's lousy with the jupe.
Doc, you got to help me. I got the jupe. Tracy sent me a bottle of jupe and a handwritten note.
Aw.
Really lovely.
So you have jupe now at home and in the office.
Yeah, I've got my home jupe and I got my work
You're
jupe.
juped up.
Yeah.
You're juped up for days.
Yeah. Oh, I'm all set for jupe. Although Tracy says to really do this properly, you've got to use half a bottle with each application.
My
Oh.
God.
So I'm really good for 4 days when you think about it.
Oh,
Pretty
you're
soon.
4 years. Whoa.
All right. Well, anyway, again, our thanks to Tracy Morgan for showing me this side of life. I didn't know. I think maybe I am a cologne guy now. And if anyone asks, my cologne is jupe. Why? Because you can put it on once and it's there for life.